Welcome to This Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today because honestly, we're looking at something truly mind-bending. Have you ever looked up at a massive flock of birds, kind of moving as one giant fluid shape, and thought to yourself, wait, who's actually in charge up there? Well, today, we're exploring exactly that, the fascinating concept of how super simple localized interactions create unbelievably complex, world-changing solutions. Pretty much everything we've achieved as a species, from building roads to developing entire cultures, is the product of collective decisions. But to really grasp the power of collective problem solving, we actually need to look away from human society for a second and look straight into the animal kingdom. But first, let me throw this provocative question your way. Are humans a foolish herd, or are we an intelligent collective? Scientists have been debating this for literally over a century. Back in 1906, a naturalist named Francis Galton tried to prove the absolute stupidity of the masses at a cattle market. He asked 800 visitors to guess the weight of a bull. Individually, almost no one got it right. People were way too high or way too low. But when he averaged all those guesses together, the collective answer was remarkably close to the animal's actual weight. So this tension between the brilliant crowd and the foolish mob is exactly what we're going to untangle today. To understand how we can actually harness that brilliant crowd, we need to know what we're talking about. So let's establish our baseline. Swarm intelligence is a system that moves completely away from centralized control toward decentralized coordination. It relies entirely on local interactions. So the absolute crucial point here is that there's no CEO. There's no boss barking orders. The magic happens precisely when we let go of top-down control. Basically, information triggers a chain of really simple reactions that makes the entire swarm smarter and more resilient as a whole. Okay, let's dive into this by looking up at the sky. Section 1. How birds master the skies. Lessons from vultures and starlings. Our first masterclass in swarm intelligence comes directly from the birds. Imagine a massive flock of starlings. If a predator approaches, obviously not every single bird can see it. But a predator detected by just a tiny fraction of the group causes this wave of turning, a rapid visual ripple right through the flock. By just paying attention to their immediate local neighbors, individuals can evade a mortal threat they can't even see themselves. It's a beautifully simple interaction that solves a highly complex survival problem. And this brilliantly illustrates our next point, brought to us by researcher Hannah Williams. She notes, the bigger the animal, the more like a paraglider. Williams studies how massive soaring birds like the Andean condor manage to travel hundreds of kilometers without even flapping their wings. Now, because observing large birds closely in the wild is incredibly difficult, she actually studies human paragliding teams. Why? Well, because paragliders don't have engines. Just like those heavy birds, they're completely reliant on invisible airflows and thermal updrafts just to stay aloft. When we compare solitary flight to flying in a group, the case for swarming becomes incredibly obvious. Solitary flight is honestly super dangerous. A lone paraglider, or a lone condor for that matter, has to guess exactly where those invisible updrafts are. If they guess wrong, they hit the ground. Simple as that. But swarm flight, it's highly efficient. Even though condors and vultures might look like these solitary, lonely creatures, they actually use shared updrafts. By flying with a group, they share vital environmental information. These seemingly solitary individuals benefit immensely from the broader network. So how exactly do these simple interactions work up in the air? Well, here are the rules they follow. They observe their neighbors' risk-taking. In paragliding and in bird flight, if you fly at a really high speed, you have a steep glide angle. You're taking a massive risk of hitting the ground, unless you somehow know there's a thermal updraft ahead. When one pilot, or one bird, finds that perfect thermal, they go up, and boom, that instantly becomes visible, valuable social information for everyone else. By simply watching the localized behavior of the guy right next to you, the whole swarm can increase their flight speed and avoid hitting the ground. You guys, it is literally decentralized data processing at 5,000 feet in the air. But the sky isn't the only place we see this. Section 2, the brilliance of bees, decentralized fact-checking and heat-seeking. Let's pivot from the avian sky down to the insect hive. But before we look at the brilliance of bees, we kind of have to address human behavior. Often, what we see on human social media platforms isn't swarm intelligence at all. It's swarm stupidity. This happens when unverified information is just blindly copied and shared at a massive scale. It's the dark side of a decentralized network. When local interactions are based on false data, the whole system just breaks down. But as you'll see, nature actually solved this problem millions of years ago. Check out this brilliant built-in fact-checking process that bees use.
When a bee finds a new food source, step 2 is absolutely vital. They do not share the information immediately. Yeah, they don't just run back and start doing their famous waggle dance for everyone. Instead, they tell maybe 1 or 2 other bees, who then fly out to verify the source completely independently. Like, is there actually good food there? Only after they independently confirm it did they return and share the data further. Information only cascades through the hive once it's been rigorously fact-checked by multiple local agents. It's amazing.
And bees use these simple local interactions to solve physical problems too. Inside the hive, there's this secondary, really critical problem. Young baby bees cannot fly, and they cannot regulate their own body temperature. They are entirely dependent on the ambient temperature around them just to survive and to prepare cells for the queen. If the hive operated like a human office building, there'd be a centralized thermostat, but obviously bees don't have that.
So how do these vulnerable baby bees survive without central heating? They use incredibly simple local reactions to reliably find the optimal temperature. They just move around completely randomly. As they frantically move, they sense how densely packed other bees are around them, and they sense the local temperature. When it feels warmer, they slow down. When they bump into other bees in a warm spot, they gather together and just stop moving. Through these super basic, localized rules, the entire swarm of baby bees flawlessly locates and maintains the warmest spot in the whole hive.
Now, researchers at the University of Graz actually tested this exact behavior using a swarm of autonomous robots. The robots moved randomly and congregated in the brightest, warmest spots, perfectly mimicking the bees. But in all these tests, what really stood out is that magic number, 1. There was exactly 1 outlier robot that ignored the swarm and refused to join the group. And researchers found that this is actually incredibly beneficial. A healthy swarm always needs a tiny fraction of individuals who don't follow the crowd, because they are the ones who end up discovering completely new options and new resources for the collective. So how can we digitize this biological behavior for human industry? Let's explore Section 3. Swarm logic is human tech, revolutionizing microchip factories. To really understand the stakes here, we have to look at one of the most complex human environments on Earth, a modern semiconductor factory. These pristine facilities process 1,600 different products simultaneously. The production times? They can take up to 4 long months. The sheer chaotic complexity of routing thousands of delicate silicon wafers through different machines at different times is just a complete logistical nightmare. Traditionally, we've managed this with centralized control, where one central point collects all the data and issues commands. The problem with that? If a machine breaks down, the whole system adapts incredibly slowly. But what happens if we treat the factory like an animal swarm? By implementing swarm intelligence, local agents, which in this case are the products themselves, make decentralized decisions based on their immediate environment. The result is wild. The system adapts instantly to changes, and experiments show that production can actually be up to 3 times faster. Now, it's important to clarify something here. Engineers do not just copy nature exactly. They aren't literally treating a microchip like an ant. Instead, they study these biological models and abstract the principles into really powerful digital algorithms. It's all about taking the underlying logic of local interaction and self-organization and translating that into human technology. And if we can use the logic of the hive to optimize a microchip factory, can we use it to optimize our society? Let's transition to applying swarm intelligence to human democratic organization. Section 4, upgrading our democracy. Participatory budgeting in Vienna. Think about it. The way we typically organize resources right now is highly centralized. Traditional majority voting often leads to clientelism. A winning coalition takes control, and they tend to allocate all the resources to one massive project. This centralized approach leaves a huge portion of the population feeling totally excluded and deeply dissatisfied because their specific local needs are just completely ignored. But there's a different way. Take a look at this remarkable number, 1 million euros. This represents the city of Vienna's incredible Children and Youth Million Initiative. Instead of top-down politicians deciding where this massive amount of money goes, Vienna decided to run a thrilling, large-scale societal experiment using the exact logic of the swarm. Here's how this human swarm budget actually works in practice. First, the ideas aren't generated by some central committee. They're submitted directly by the local community. Then they're evaluated collaboratively. Next, and this is definitely the most amazing part, the budget is voted on by youth aged 5 to 20.
Finally, instead of winner takes all, the budget is dynamically allocated across multiple, smaller, complementary projects. Just like a flock of birds optimizing its flight path, the community uses local knowledge to distribute resources exactly where they're needed most. And this isn't just theory either. To ground this in reality, let's look at the Robbie Youth Space in Vienna. This is a space dedicated to queer youth that had unfortunately fallen into disrepair. Because the budgeting process was completely decentralized, the young people who actually knew what their community needed submitted the idea, voted on it, and got it funded. The renovation happened directly through this collective swarm budgeting process. It gave a voice and resources to localized groups that traditional centralized voting would have completely overlooked. It's working exactly like the natural biological networks we saw earlier with the birds and the bees. Which brilliantly brings us to the core truth of our explainer today. As one complexity researcher put it, there really is no such thing really as individual intelligence. It's all kind of collective. From the paragliders finding thermals, to the bees seeking warmth, to the youth in Vienna building their community space, our greatest strength doesn't come from a single centralized brain. Our true intelligence emerges from our localized connections. The logic of the many simply creates groups that are way more resilient.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Knowing that massive, complex problems are solved not by one giant leap, but by millions of small, verified local interactions, how will you use simple interactions to contribute to the human swarm today? Whether it's verifying information before you share it or looking out for the needs of your immediate local neighbors, your simple interactions absolutely matter. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and until next time, keep looking for the intelligence in the swarm.